49er faithful, fans of the Niner Station, thanks again for joining us. Thomas, Ryan, and Mark back to talk to you about our reactions to week one, how the 49er season's kicking off. How about you guys? How was your week so far? Since you guys got to go to the game, I guess you started off on a good note.
I'll go ahead and go first. My week has been it's a pretty chill week. Just came back from vacationing, what they call a baby moon nowadays, and we spent the time in Hawaii. Got back on late Sunday night, early Monday morning, and got to go to the Monday night game. And we were fortunate to get out there a little bit early. And it was just awesome to be out there at Levi's again. The vibes were immaculate. Vibes were high. I mean, we'll get into it more, but it was just awesome to feel the energy at Levi's because it definitely was buzzing again.
Yeah, how's it going, Thomas, Ryan? Good to see you guys. Ryan, I got to see you last night at the game. Always good to see you in person. And those pictures from your vacation looked like it was a good trip. So I'm glad you got to have a nice week in Hawaii and got back safely and timing for the Niners game. So I'm really excited to talk about this game here. This was an exciting way to kick off the season. Niners set they set the tone for the season in week one. National TV, Monday Night Football against the Jets. A lot of good things I saw, things I was concerned about. So I'm curious to see what you guys thought was positives and negatives in this game week one.
I didn't get to watch the first quarter live. I was still getting off work, but had the chance to go over to my parents' house and watch the highlights and then catch back up live, I think at the start of the second. So I did miss some key plays, but one thing I did notice as a general theme that throughout the whole game was the Niners seemed to be owning the time of possession. I think it broke down to 38 minutes and 40 seconds. We were converting third downs, it says 46.2%, and the numbers don't even do the stat line justice. What I saw was Jordan Mason making a last-minute start, just running through the Jets defense for first down after first down after first down. Brock Purdy throwing dimes in the typical fashion, usually in that intermediate zone, 10 to 15 yards for first downs. I saw the Jets defense that was supposed to be a top 5 defense at the very least get ran all over, and Brock Purdy did his job at the quarterback level. Now his stat line might show it. He might not look too good on fantasy. He might not look good on ESPN. I think the QBR was under 90. But if you were to add a few touchdowns, all of a sudden that's a great game. And what happened was the Niners were just running him in. So there's a lot to be excited about. Concerns, really quick for me. I do think that the injury to Christian McCaffrey is a little bit of concern if there's going to be a workload for whatever running back it is. That's basically the same thing. So we're just going to run the next running back into the ground, and it's going to be someone that doesn't have that kind of experience. Like Jordan Mason, they said, hasn't ran that many attempts since he was in high school, I believe, not even at Georgia Tech. So, I'll kick it off to you, Ryan. I know you didn't get to have the ability to rewind like I did and review some stuff already, but you were there. How was the energy, like Mark said, and what do you think about the game?
Yeah, the energy was awesome. Like I said earlier, the vibes were high, the energy was high, and especially in the beginning, we just saw Fred Warner just out there like a madman, just making tackles, and he was everywhere. And he set the tone early for the game, but obviously this was a big Jordan Mason game, and he came out hot. He came out ready to hit somebody, and it was crazy because I remember, we were at the tailgate, and only an hour before, just getting the notification that Christian McCaffrey was going to be out. And I remember like everyone was just so confused, like, what's going on? And even for me, we talked about this in a previous podcast where obviously we all like to play fantasy football here. And in one league, I took Christian McCaffrey as the number 1 pick. And from a fantasy perspective, it sucks being out of luck, being stranded on a Monday night. No other running backs, really. No other replacements to put Christian McCaffrey. I wasn't a lucky person who got to draft Christian McCaffrey and pick up Jordan Mason later. So it is what it is. Had to take the L, but at least the in real life team 49ers got the win and they looked really good. There's a lot of areas for improvement, but it's only the first game and we want to keep building on this. I take it as a good thing, like a glass half full. That, hey, we played some good ball, but there's a lot of good ball left to be played still.
Yeah, Ryan, it was the same thing. I was at a tailgate, not for too long because I got there a little bit later because of work, but as we're about to walk into the stadium, you get the update, Christian McCaffrey's out. It's funny because on the drive up with some of the buddies I was going with, we were actually saying, if Christian McCaffrey's not healthy, don't even play him. Jordan Mason has proved in the preseason, and I think the last 2 years that he can carry a workload if given the opportunity. He proved that last night that he can be the bell cow and produce, obviously in a different way than McCaffrey. You didn't see him in the passing game as much, but the guy, his vision is so good. It's one of those things, right? In the stadium, you can't hit rewind, like Thomas was saying, and see different things. But one thing you do have is you have the all 22 view, and so you can see lanes open up, receivers bust open on pass plays and things like that. And the vision that Jordan Mason showed, in my opinion, was incredible. That was definitely a positive. Purdy, man, he's just so calm in the pocket. He every time you think, okay, is he gonna crumble here? Nope. He's just the same guy over and over every play. And that's another thing I noticed with the kind of the all 22 perspective is on key situations, third down, like there were opportunities where he could have pushed the ball downfield, but he made the smart play, took the completion, kept the change moving, kept the drive going. You can see his understanding of the offense in the game of football, how to maintain drives and keep the team on the field, so you're not punting the ball. They had one punt yesterday, 8 consecutive scoring drives. So the efficiency on offense was great to see. Dominic Pooney was a huge positive in my opinion. Baldy's breakdown this morning. That's one of my favorite things after Niners games the next day, to watch Baldy's breakdown, and he was just raving about Pooney, how he didn't have a single bad play the whole game. He was opening up running lanes. I don't think he gave up a pressure. On the defensive end, Fred Warner, I mean, the game started off a little slow, back-to-back 3-and-outs, right? And the Jets get the ball. I think they picked up like a first down, and then the very next play, Fred Warner comes flying in, punches the ball out, and from that moment on, Levi's just rocking. When we're on defense, my ears are ringing. It's so loud. Levi's Stadium showed up. Niners definitely showed up. I think those were some of the key positives. And then on the defensive end too, Malcolm Floyd, he was exactly what we were looking for a defensive end opposite of Bosa. He got the sack. Bosa should get a half sack credit on that because he flushed him too, Floyd. Collins looked great on the defensive line. Hard because there's so many positives that you don't want to rant and rave about everything that was good, but 49ers team that there's a lot of turmoil in the offseason about who's going to sign contracts, who's going to show up to play. Are they going to have a Super Bowl hangover? Can they get their 4 straight years to the NFC Championship game or Super Bowl and still come back? And they just showed up ready to play. So for me, everything was a good sign at Rome. And then I think, the biggest concern for me would be McCaffrey's calf. So what do you guys think that's going to look like going forward past this game? Do you think this was a week 1 sit out and he'll be ready to go? Or do you think he's going to be out for an extended period of time?
It's now technically being described, or we're being told that it's it's tendinitis of the Achilles. To me, that sounds like an off and on injury, just like a hamstring, like a bad hamstring pull or an ankle sprain even, So I do unfortunately think that this isn't something that will go away. I'm curious to see when they pull the trigger on him playing, because you really don't have to next week. I think one thing that makes me nervous though is if they do decide to let him play early and it's on a turf field, it only increases his risk of injury. So it would hopefully be at a home game or somewhere with grass.
The next two games are on turf
on the
fields.
road. So Week 4, right? But again, you don't have to play him. I think it might be worth letting Isaac Orenda or Patrick Taylor Jr. even maybe get a couple reps just to see what the rest of the run game looks like. The whole league is on notice that Jordan Mason is good, although we've been saying it for 2 years. I think everyone now got to see it on ESPN. He got a chance to shine. That was great and all, but CMC does add a little bit. I think I'm curious to see how defenses game plan for Jordan Mason versus how they have been game planning for CMC and what that changes for the offense. Against the Jets, it worked out fine, but now people know kind of what doesn't work, I guess, and there's going to be different tweaks made across the league since everyone just got to show what we did, and I believe most of the running was in between the tackles. I think maybe if CMC comes back, we let Jordan Mason still do most of those run plays, but maybe just receiver him, make him mainly a receiver and let him run a handful of times like Deebo has been doing. But yeah, that's going to be an interesting ripple effect to see what happens.
It's definitely going to be something we have to follow, and I'm sure every single 49er fan is going to follow really closely is the status of Christian McCaffrey. And despite like my fantasy football interest in Christian McCaffrey. We have to remember, I think Kyle Shanahan, after so many years of making it deep into the playoffs, even reaching the Super Bowl a few times, he has that mindset of keeping the long game in mind, playing the long game, not winning for right now. So right now, the most important thing is for Christian McCaffrey to get his leg better. We have a young workhorse like Jordan Mason, who's looking really good out there. We still have the young rookie, Isaac Orendo, who we haven't seen yet because of his own injuries. But hopefully, if McCaffrey can't get out there next week against the Vikings, we could see some of him too. Or if not, we could see Patrick Taylor out there too. It'll give those guys some opportunity to get some run, to get some tape out there. But most importantly, I would love to see Jordan Mason just continue to do his thing, continue to improve and put some good tape out there and let Christian McCaffrey get well. So that way in the second half of the year and more importantly, deep into the playoffs, he'll be 100% no issues.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that sentiment. I wouldn't even like if it takes McCaffrey till week 8 to be 100% healthy, let him sit. But my thing is, like Tom's was saying, we need to see some more, 80 in the backfield. Jordan Mason can't get the ball 25 times a game, 28 times a game, or he's gonna be banged up come playoff time and deeper in the season. And another concern from the game that kind of has to do with the backfield is Deebo is back there a lot, and I understand, maybe it's because of the last second thing. McCaffrey, they didn't know McCaffrey's going to be out, so you just throw him in there. You talk about Shanahan being hard on receivers and for receivers to get playing time and kind of get involved in this offense. With running backs, I feel like it takes a lot to earn his trust, and he just did not seem comfortable giving the ball to anybody else out of the backfield besides Jordan Mason and Deebo Samuel. And Deebo Samuel is great. He's explosive. I understand that. But he is not going to make it the whole season if he's getting 8 carries a game or whatever it is. He's just not built for that. It's one thing, occasionally here or there. You got to get the ball to guys like Orendo and Patrick Taylor. Thought Patrick Taylor looked good in the, he only had one game in the preseason because he was dealing with his own injuries, I think. Orendo too, but like you just got Shanahan gets in these spells where he just feeds one guy over and over and over again. Just doesn't seem to be willing to kind of spread the workload in the backfield unless you have earned his trust. So again, at the end of the game, last night, it would have been nice in the fourth quarter if he would have thrown Patrick Taylor out there and let Patrick Taylor get the bulk of the carries in the fourth quarter, and that didn't happen. Look at the box score. The only people that ran the ball were Deebo and Jordan Mason, and then Brock had a carry and Brandon Allen had a carry. But it's like you got to find a way get these other running backs on the field and spread the carries because these running backs aren't going to stay healthy like that. And, if McCaffrey's thing does turn into more of a serious long-term thing, you have to keep Jordan Mason fresh. So that's something that I'm going to keep an eye on going forward in this next few weeks. Christian McCaffrey probably being out playing on turf.
Yeah, wow, the turf thing and overall Shanahan habits are a little concerning because we can almost, without a doubt, predict that he's going to give Jordan Mason 25 plus attempts. Even though we can sit here and say what he should do, it's probably not going to happen because it didn't happen with CMC. Now that is CMC. So maybe that is the difference maker. Maybe it's easier to gain trust to play behind Jordan Mason than I guess it is behind CMC. I think you just obviously trust CMC that much more. One thing that I don't know the running back situation, you could have sat anywhere in the stadium, and once you knew that the person running the ball for the Niners was Jordan Mason, you could tell that we were dominating in that field, or that part of the game. On TV, one thing that really stood out, because they did it in slow motion more often than not, was the entire DB room breaking up passes on Garrett Wilson. And really, there was only 1 or 2 passes to Allen Lazard later in the game, in the third quarter, I believe, second half at least, that looked okay. I think Garrett Wilson's stat line was, let's just say it wasn't a typical Garrett Wilson stat line. And if you can shut down a guy like that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just Charvarius Ward. So that answered our question is like, are we going to be following Garrett Wilson? It looks like, even Isaac Yianna might have had a pass breakup against him. The whole DB room was getting after it. Deommodore Lenoir, Ward, of course, but we were deep at corner for once. And I think the receivers should be above average, led by Garrett Wilson for the Jets. I'm curious to see what it looks like when we play the Rams, although they might not have Cooper Kupp, or not Cooper Kupp. They will only have Cooper Kupp. They're not going to have Puka Nacua for at least 4 weeks, I think. So I can't remember based off our schedule. Obviously, Justin Jefferson this weekend. That'll be another true test. If you can get a pass breakup on Justin Jefferson, you can definitely do it on anyone else. But I think Garrett Wilson was a good litmus test.
If I can give a rating grade to our passing defense, I would say like a B plus, A minus. Garrett Wilson's a really good receiver, young receiver in the league, and we did a good job of pretty much shutting him down, frustrating him, giving him problems. And really, that one touchdown that Lazard scored, you could even say it was a little fluky, even because Aaron Rodgers, he's the king at a hard count.
Free play.
The free play. He is the man when it comes to free plays, and that's kind of what the touchdown or that one of them came on. So the defense kind of paused a little, didn't really know what's going on, and obviously Aaron capitalized. So it is what it is. One thing that I saw interesting too, we've been pretty high on some of the young rookies, Renardo Green, Malik Mustafa, these past couple of weeks, and I wasn't really sure, but I was really curious and even hoping to see if they would get some playing time, and they didn't. But it's all good because our starters did hold it down. But it was interesting to see the rookies not getting any time yesterday in the secondary.
When I was looking down on the field, I was looking for 6. I was looking for 0 on defense, and you didn't see it, right? It's another thing, Shanahan. It's very hard to earn playing time as a rookie on a Shanahan team. At least from what I can remember, the Shanahan era, there's not many rookies that play. And when I look down, it was a lot of Yadam outside, Various outside, and then Lenore was in the slot, which I think is probably the best solution at the cornerback position for the Niners this year. I think Renardo Green has that potential to get in there, but I have no problem going with the veterans at corner. I was really disappointed about Mustafa not being out there, sitting next to the guys that where we're sitting at, and I'm like, I want to see 6 on the field. I mean, I get it. Odom is a veteran. He's kind of earned his stripes in this league, but you can't tell me that Odom's that much better than Mustafa. I just don't know if maybe don't feel comfortable with Mustafa at free safety, or they don't feel comfortable with moving Jair Brown over to free safety and putting Mustafa at strong. I don't know what it is, but seeing Odom out there for as many reps as he got over Mustafa was a little disappointing. Obviously, I don't mind him starting there, but I would have liked to see Mustafa out there a little bit more on defense. And also, it could be, they're going against a veteran like Aaron Rodgers, but maybe you want to have the veteran DBs out there. And next week when we're going against a guy like Sam Darnold, I feel a little more comfortable getting some younger guys out there. But that was something that I did notice too, Ryan. Rookie secondary guys that were really high on through the preseason that I thought played well in the preseason didn't get much run out there on defense this week.
I honestly think it was for their safety to go against a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, who could probably easily notice if they were just slightly out of formation on doing something wrong and make picking it apart that much easier. In game 2, Sam Darnold, who had seen ghosts in the secondary, I don't think that'll be the case. So if they don't play any snaps next week, then we'll kind of be able to confirm that part of that is Shanahan not trusting. He doesn't really let rookies play a lot. The only rookie that he did let play, obviously, was Dominic Pooney. And I felt that, from what I could see, Pooney looked pretty good. But on the defensive side, you're right. I would love to see Renardo Green, Malik Mustafa out there with the chance to make a play, and because that's what we saw. That's the kind of style of play that they provide. We got the rest of the Niners defense pretty hyped up out there, adding a little bit of rookie excitement. Them in their first game trying to go out there could be nice. I don't think there's as big of a risk as someone breaking coverage to make an interception or getting a penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct for smacking the shit out of a receiver is going to be as big of a game difference in a game against Sam Darnold and the Vikings versus in a game against the Jets, right? Let Aaron Rodgers get within one score. We've seen what that happens and what that looks like to many teams. We also saw what happened against the Niners. So not too long ago. Was that 2 or 3 years ago? It feels like it wasn't that long ago because I like to be undefeated against Aaron Rodgers, but for the most part, the secondary I thought was good. Defense looked like we were getting them off the field. They didn't have very many first downs, except for that first drive where they had 3. I think that accounted for most of the first downs throughout the whole game. So it was our ball. It looked like it was our show. It probably felt like you probably heard the foghorn a little too much at the Niners Stadium. I would prefer not to kick so many field goals, but at least we were making them.
Hey, that's a good sign too. Special teams, we have to talk about it. That's also a positive sign. I mean, remember last year, we were talking about on a week-to-week basis, like we're tracking, how's the young kicker, Jake Moody? How's he doing? High draft pick. We spent a lot of capital on this kid. He better make all his kicks. And here he is going for 6 for 6, having a great night. And I think we could confidently say now that we have a lot of confidence in the kid, and we definitely could see him, having a great future with the Niners, just being consistent as long as he keeps it up. But also was really nice too was seeing Jacob Cowing out there. He made no mistakes, and if anything, he looked like he had a little bit of juice out there. So I'm hoping to see him continue, and hopefully he could take it a step forward and make some plays out there on special team.
Yeah, Jake Moody definitely won some people across the country some fantasy week ones. I guarantee you. I think he had like 20-something points with the 6 field goals and the 2 extra points, and a couple of them were beyond 50 yards. So he looked confident. Again, we had no muff punts, nothing on that aspect. So that's a good sign. Other guy on defense that we last podcast we talked about, we were very confident in the secondary going into this game, probably for the most confident we've been in the secondary. We're a little, hesitant to anoint the defensive line as a defensive line in the past, and I think defensive line had a good showing. Like I said, Leonard Floyd looked pretty good. Bosa was getting held all day, couldn't get a call. I don't know what it is about NFL refs. They just don't want to call holding on Nick Bosa for some reason. It's ridiculous. Malik Collins, that guy is an absolute stud. Every time, I would each play when you're in the game in the stadium, you kind of pick one position group to focus on each play. And every time I feel focused on the defensive line, like that guy was making plays, stuffing gaps, just being a menace out there. And I think Malik Collins was a huge addition to this defensive line and is going to be huge as far as controlling that interior run game and making sure that we're not getting ran on. That's running back. What am I brain farting on his name right now?
Breece Hall.
Breece Hall. He's a stud, man. Like he's a top running back in this league, and he had to earn every yard, inside he had to earn. And so it was good to see Malik Collins kind of step up as that interior run defender that we need, especially with a guy like Hargrave. I think he was a little underwhelming. When you have a Malik Collins there, it's going to open things up for Hargrave to make some plays. So I think Malik Collins was a huge plus for us, and the defensive line had a solid week one. Even though they were question mark coming into this game, I think they played really well. I'm curious to see what you guys think. And obviously, Thomas, you got to watch the TV version, so you get a little bit more from Aikman and Buck and other guys. What do you guys think about Nick Sorensen's debut as defensive coordinator? I think he mixed up a lot of play calls and put the Niners in positions to stop Aaron Rodgers throughout the game. So I think he had a good showing his first game as defensive coordinator.
Well, I mean, the gameplay causing Aaron Rodgers to go 3 and out more often than not, holding the Jets to really not too much offensive production, especially Breece Hall. I didn't even think to mention about the free play touchdown. That's kind of a Aaron Rodgers gimme. He does that all the time.
Yeah, the free play, and then the last one was at time when everyone was out. So,
yep.
If you think about it, I mean, that's pretty solid calling. Now, again, you do have week one is going to be different than a lot of the other games because you have all offseason to prep for week one. You have 1 week to prep for week two. So I'm sure he's already started looking at every game as anyone would in a first-year coaching job. But I'd say all in all, he must have called a pretty solid game because it didn't feel like Shanahan forced him to make any changes. It looked like they stuck to what they wanted to do from the start because it worked. How they called it was positive. I feel like they specifically said that he did a good job at times. I think the way that they talked about it was, oh, look, and Aaron Rodgers going for another 3 and out. The Niners control the ball again, but the Jets just can't stay on the field. I can't do a good Troy Aikman. I can't do a good
Joe Buck
impression. No, I don't think my voice sounds anything like them. But essentially, they were just talking about how Aaron Rodgers can't keep them on the field, and they kind of rotate through the defensive players on who's having a good game. Your typical calling.
I thought he called a good game too. All things considered. And a lot of the players were just making plays. Like Nick Bosa was out there causing havoc. He looked good. The sack numbers weren't there for him, but he was causing a lot of pressure, and Rodgers definitely had to get the ball out fast. But one thing kudos to John Lynch, making some sneaky good signings in the offseason. With Collins, we talked about, and with Leonard Floyd, man. Those two guys are going to look like key pieces to this defense this year. And I'm just excited for this overhauled line that we have coming in with Collins. You pair him up with Hargrave. And then you have Jordan Elliott coming in. Like, that's a really solid interior rotation. I'm excited to see that group get some sacks. But overall, defense did good. And some positives is at least there's some reinforcements on the way, because Javondre Campbell did all right at linebacker, but at least we have Bethune on the way. We have D Winters coming pretty soon too. So the defense is just going to get stronger. And like we mentioned, those rookies, hopefully they'll be coming up as well too.
Yeah, so I agree. Defensively, the play calling was pretty solid. Now, offensively, everything's been pretty positive in this podcast, but there's a few calls on offense that I disagree with on Shanahan. It's very hard to nitpick when they score 8 straight drives and you win a game, score 32 points on a top defense in the league. You only punt once. So, take this with a grain of salt, but I'm looking at it as, okay, this is a trend with Shanahan, and in these closer games down the stretch, he's got to break out of these trends that he kind of has since he's been the 49ers head coach. The first one was early in the game. I think it was a 3rd and 5. We were like on the 40-yard line driving, and we called that reverse, and it looked like Deebo was going to throw the ball, and then decided not to. And then all day today, I'm kind of seeing lights of Purdy running. It looked like he's running a route, and I think he mentioned that was supposed to be a play call. So the thing for me is, why is Deebo the one throwing it? Why is it not Jawan Jennings or Juszczyk or someone that has a history of being able to throw the ball? So that was a questionable call for me because that was still early in the game. I think it was a 1-score game at that point, and you take a drive where we're driving. Luckily, Deebo was able to make a play and get us back into field goal range, but that could have been a huge play if it was a close game, taking us out of field goal range and costing us points there. And then the other call that was concerning to me was later in the game. We had a 4th and 1 down inside the 5-yard line. We're up 13 points, and a touchdown, it ends the game for sure, right? A field goal, you're up 16. So yeah, I know it's 2 touchdowns and 2 2-point conversions, which is very hard to do again, especially the way the Niners defense was playing. So I can kind of see a reasoning for it, but Dan Campbell, Andy Reid, these Sean McVay, these coaches that have won Super Bowls, Sean Payton, they're not kicking a field goal 4th and 1 up 13 inside their own 5-yard line. They're putting the foot on the throat and ending the game with a touchdown going up 20 points. So I'm curious to see what you guys think about those 2 calls in particular from Shanahan.
The goal line one. Ryan, you first.
The goal line one irritated me the most.
Or not the goal line one was irritating. Tommy, you could talk about that one. But that one early play, that one you were talking about with Deebo, even my wife, Kelsey, was like, what the hell were they just doing right now? So it's just it's just that's always been a thing with Shanahan, and, always questioning his aggressiveness and his play calling. And I don't know what it is, but it seems like that's just something that we're going to have to kind of always deal with, unfortunately, as Niner fans.
Yeah, sorry, not the goal line play, the 4th and goal play. That play, I think I would say is number one. It's the most frustrating to see that, of the choices you have, right, looking at, can we be aggressive? Obviously, the teams that win Super Bowls have made those choices to be aggressive, and we continually lose, and maybe you could say that's Shanahan's flaw. But I thought that the only risk in this situation was you come away with a missed or blocked field goal, and the Jets are now backed up on the 4-yard line, and Aaron Rodgers can't run or do anything. So now you can get a safety. I mean, you've been able to show the whole night that you can shut down Aaron Rodgers. They can't run the ball, so play one is going to be a run that's stuffed. So now it's 2nd and 10. You make one good play on defense, you force a very shaky offensive line to then go against the pass rush of, Bosa, Leonard Floyd coming off the edges, and Hargrave and Malik Collins up the middle. So you have that condensed field of play, right? They can't move a lot. He's 4 or 5 yards off the goal line. So that's your worst case scenario. Let's go for it on 4th and 1. Like you said, Mark, the outcome puts you up by 16, so it's still technically a two possession game versus a touchdown makes it a 3-possession game. And you've shown that you can have drives of 5 to 8, 9 minutes long, and there's not enough time for them to stop you 3 times. If they get lucky once, that would be a first, but you've scored on every drive. So My logic behind it of all times to take a risk and show the fans that you can kind of do it, Kyle. You didn't do it. That's just my thought process. And the last play, we can finish discussion on that, but the last thing I want to talk about was the drop ball by Ayuk. It was brutal. And that is 100% from not playing all summer with the quarterback. The fact that he was close shows that they kind of pick up a little bit where they left off. Ayuk is that good. Brock Purdy is that good, right? But it was so obvious on the next play that they were going to probably try to do something similar, and they showed on you. I don't know if you could see it from where you were sitting on the field, but in the TV showed everyone was blanket, double coverage, everything. It wasn't even a risk. You had one shot at that Ayuk pass, and that would have changed the tone of his extension. It would have changed probably would have changed my fantasy week. Would have gotten a Brock Purdy passing touchdown. Many of people would have gotten their Ayuk 6 points, but yeah, it seemed like, between the not aggression there and then I think the Jets actually just played good defense on that when they went for it on, I think it was third down, but Ayuk dropped it on second down, and if I remember correctly, and man, that would have just been huge to see, but I was just thinking immediately, it's because they haven't done that a million times at practice, and they're doing it like fifth or sixth time. He maybe just started practicing that play. He hasn't been practicing that long. So, I don't know how many times they've ran routes like that. The over-the-middle stuff doesn't seem that hard. You get there at this time, get to this area, I'll throw a good ball. Timing route, tight coverage for a touchdown, that's a play that you have to be there all summer to practice. He just wasn't there, so I think that was the difference.
Yeah, that was disappointing. I wore my Ayuk jersey fresh off the signing. Obviously, I knew he'll be on a pitch count of sorts, but you still think he'll be out there making a play if it came to him. And lo and behold, the opportunity did come, and it just went right through his hands. And like you said, Tommy, even Peyton Manning had something similar to say, how that's just a direct result of not being there in training camp, not getting the reps with your quarterback, and just not being out there getting those reps. But the cool thing is, there were two people in contract negotiations. Brandon Ayuk looked a little rusty, obviously. Wish he did a little better for in real life and in fantasy. But someone who didn't really seem to miss a beat was Trent Williams. Trent Williams looked like he was still the all-pro, one of the best left tackles in the league. So at least Trent Williams is still the silverback that we know him to be.
Trent Williams he's an OG, man. The guy's getting IV shots during the game to stay hydrated. Like, guy's just a monster. He comes in after not practicing all summer long, all spring long, and doesn't give up a single pressure. He has the best PFF grades of any tackle all week long. He's a stud. And then the Ayuk thing, man, that he dropped that touchdown pass. Everyone around us is like, show up to camp. Like, there's no excuse. And then also he dropped a pass on second down earlier in the game that would have been a first down. He did redeem himself on the very next play. He caught an outbreaking route that was pretty contested. Got the first down, but you could definitely see the rust on Ayuk, and it's one of those things now. It's like, Ayuk, you're getting paid $30 million a year now. Like, when fans start getting on you on social media when you're making drops like that, like, you can't say anything. Like, that's what comes. Like, Justin Jefferson's not dropping that. Chase is not. Tyreek Hill's not dropping that. Like, say you're that guy, and then you go out there, and again, it was a blowout. Didn't matter, but a tight game, that could be the difference between you winning and losing, right? 4 points between a field goal and a touchdown. So I think he's going to be fine. Don't get me wrong. Like, Ayuk's a very talented player, but when you act the way you acted, and you bring that kind of drama to the team in the offseason, you need to perform. And when you don't perform, you got to expect to hear it. So I think that was disappointing. Again, I'm not concerned in the long run, but yeah, definitely a direct impact of not practicing all offseason.
The way that one thing that you guys obviously, I don't know if it was as noticeable as it was when you're watching the game on TV, the Trent Williams thing. They showed him come off the field, and they film him, like, all you're watching is him walking across the back of the end zone, and everyone, no one knows. They're just kind of going on and on and on. Well, Trent Williams is obviously a key player for the team. They're like running through every stat that they have, like their little cheat sheet on Trent Williams. They're like, he's been in the league this long, he's played this many games, he's already done this. They're just trying to kill time while they're filming it, and eventually they say, and he's on his way to get an IV, everyone. Like, it's just such a, it was like we're sigh of relief type thing. But it was kind of funny because you could almost kind of notice that they were just rattling on and on and on, trying to like go through the whole, what could it possibly be? No one knows. Hey, do you know? Was it his ankle? How did he look on that play? They're probably doing all this in the background to give their broadcast team something to say. And lo and behold, it's just like, nah, he's actually only missed one. I think he missed 2 plays, 2 snaps. He was like, yeah, I just wanted to get an IV because I don't feel like chugging water in between series. Or I mean, it's such a veteran move. I don't know how many players get IVs during games, but I thought that was pretty, ironic. Obviously he probably was working out, but football is like a totally different thing on your body.
Can't get in football shape
without playing
football. Yeah. So like that's just the thing. One thing I did before we get out of here, guys, I wanted to ask you. I don't think we did this on our last podcast because we're only doing one a week. I just wanted to we've talked about this past game. Do we have any predictions or thoughts on what the outcome is going to be in Minnesota next week? Tough environment. I don't think we've won in Minnesota since like 1992 or something like that. Some crazy. It's been a long time since the Niners have won in Minnesota. I'm curious to see what you guys think is going to happen coming off a short week. They blew out the Daniel Jones and the Giants. I would just hate to be a Giants fan. They blew out the Giants. Their starters probably didn't play much in the fourth quarter. What do you guys think this game's gonna look like this weekend?
Yeah, I could go first. I'll make mine pretty quick. Sam Darnold did look pretty decent. It sounds weird saying it out loud, but he looked pretty good week 1. But my prediction is, Sam Darnold is going to see Ghost again when he plays us, and it's going to be a different story week 2 for Sam Darnold.
I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say it's a win already, but a lot would have to happen and go right for the Vikings for this to just be a close game, in my opinion. I think Aaron Jones is their new running back. He's solid, but I think Breece Hall's much better, especially at this point in his career. Justin Jefferson is probably a significant amount better than Garrett Wilson, even as great as Garrett Wilson is. So, Garrett Wilson was a good litmus test, like I said earlier, but seeing how our corners match up, again, and is the strategy the same? Are we going to, I think it's going to be free flowing. I think they're going to trust almost, Lenore. I think they're not going to be switching people back and forth and Yadam. I could be wrong. This week could be, he's a little bit too good. Let's just stick to Ward, and then we'll let Lenore come in here and there, give Ward a break. But that'll be one thing to look at. I don't think there's going to be as many skull chants as the Vikings crowd like to do. I think they're going to be in desperation mode I think the defensive line pressure on Sam Darnold is going to be a huge difference compared to what it was. I mean, the Giants have some good players up front, but they lost Dexter Lawrence. I think they brought in the defensive end from Carolina, Brian Burns, I think.
The Giants did. No, the Giants had Burns.
Yeah, no, they brought him in. He was a free agent signing. No, they had Thibodeau.
Yeah.
So they had Kayvon Thibodeau and him. I'm sure that gave some pressure against Darnold. I don't think that's Bosa and Floyd. So that's going to change a lot of it. I don't think Aaron Jones, is going to do I don't know. I don't think he'll have a much better stat line than Breece, and Breece was bottled up pretty solid. Can Brock Purdy absolutely just dice up their defense? Probably. I don't know. They usually have good safety or linebacker play, so that might change a little bit of stuff. But
I'm pretty sure Jordan Addison is also injured too. I need to double check on that, but yeah,
he is hurt. I'm very shocked on your guys's. I have a complete opposite view. I think
Mr. Justin Jefferson himself.
I know.
So this is my thought process. I already mentioned, right, we're coming off a short week. We played Monday night. They played Sunday morning, I believe, like early kickoff. Fourth quarter, they didn't play much. They were resting. On the road, you're traveling to the East Coast after the short week, okay?
Minnesota is central, okay?
Okay, either way, you got to travel, right? Have O'Connell, coach, great offensive mind, really got to just sit and watch live Niners play. New coordinator, he got to see, okay, what's Sorensen dialing up on third and short? What's Sorensen doing here on first down? I think their defensive coordinator, Brian Flores, is a really good defensive coordinator. I think this game's going to be tough. You got Sam Darnold's practiced against this defense every day last year. Every day last year, he was a scout quarterback against this defense. He knows Nick Bosa. He knows Fred Warner. Like, he knows Deommodore Lenore. He knows all these guys. And so I think this game is going to be very, very, very close game. Wrap game 2, looking forward to a divisional game the next week against the Rams. So you have all these factors that I think are pointing to a very tight, contested game where, if this was the week 1 matchup, I think the Vikings probably don't stand much of a chance. But because of all these scenarios, I think this is going to be a very tight game. And I wouldn't be shocked if it comes down to like a game-winning drive by Purdy, and then that being the difference whether or not they can execute on the last drive or not. So I'm predicting a game that comes down to the wire just because of all the external factors that I was mentioning. Vikings have a lot of talent, man. They won games and were competitive in games last year with Hobbs and these other guys playing quarterback for them. So I think this game's going to be a lot closer than Niner fans thinking. So that's my prediction. It's going to come down to a last-second drive. Maybe the Vikings are driving to tie it up late, and the Niners are going to stop. Something like that. I think is going to come down to the end, though. I think it's going to be very tight.
I mean, you highlighted the only things that are positive for the Vikings, I think, in this matchup, right? It's strong coaching, the fact that Darnold played against his defense every day, in a sense. Those are all practice reps, so, I mean, he never ever got hit in any of those situations, and I think he's going to be feeling the pain this week. That's going to change right. how he throws, but it would be hard for me. I think the Niners I'm not going to say they're going to play a flawless game. There's going to be plays where Justin Jefferson gets open. Sam Darnold does something weird, maybe boots for a first down. Maybe he scrambles a little more. I think he can kind of do that if I remember correctly. He's not like a complete concrete foot quarterback.
He's going to move a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, like he's not Brock Purdy or Lamar,
But he's not Jared Goff.
Yeah, he's not or Kirk Cousins. Like where they'll scoot up in the pocket. They'll maybe kick it outside a bit, but yeah, I don't know. I could be completely wrong and you could be right, but obviously in this situation, I hope that it's still a Niner win by a couple scores. And what I hope in that situation, what we do is not run whoever the running back is into the ground and let some of the backups play a little bit. Again, Shanahan might do the safe thing, right? Starting 2-0, playing your starters most of the game could be important. Because like you said, Rams are always a tricky game for us no matter what. They're kind of like how the Seahawks used to be for us, but now the Rams are in my opinion, the only... The Cardinals look pretty decent too. I think they did upset the Bills.
They lost by 6, but it was close.
It was a close game, and then our division will be interesting. So you gotta come away with these quote unquote like easier wins. All wins have to be earned, right? You got to play the full game. You got to go out there, and on any given Sunday, any team could win. On this given Sunday, I don't think that's going to be Sam Darnold, pulling off a career-changing game against his former team. Now that storyline is almost too good to be true. So, man, that would make a pretty depressing pod though next week.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But even with no CMC, it's going to be interesting. Week 2, it's going to be if the Niners really want to assert themselves, not only at the top of NFC West, but the top of NFC. Games like this against the Vikings, you just got to pull out the win and figure it out, which I think they will do.
Hoping you guys are right. I just have this gut feeling. We've witnessed some nasty losses in Minnesota the past 4 or 5 years under Shanahan. I think last year we all thought they were going to go on Monday night, beat them, and we know how that turned out. So hope you guys are right. I just see a lot of the pieces. After an upset happens, everyone's like, well, it's a short week. Well, look ahead, trap game, this and this. So I just see the pieces of an upset being there. And if you're a championship team, it shouldn't matter. But I just see those pieces being there, and I think it's going to be closer than most people think.
Well, I guess we'll find out on Sunday. Are we in the first? I think we're in the early
10 a.m. Yep, 10 a.m. kickoff.
Slot. I will change my weekend entirely because last weekend, obviously, I, like most people, dove right into Red Zone at 10 a.m. for the kickoff on Sunday and then didn't have to worry about a Niner game until Monday. Now we start the day with only caring about one game while frantically checking all of our fantasy live updates for the rest of the games going on and maybe have Red Zone on one screen. Who knows? I don't know what the Sunday plan is going to be, but I do think we're going to be in for a show in week 2. Let's go with closing it out here, guys, I think we'd got to do in honor of week 1, a little bang bang.
Gang.
Niner gang.